all those things, right? You have a trial by jury and all this kind of stuff. But here's the thing: I don't want no damn, no truck driver and no woman who sit at home all day and watch Judge Judy and judge whoever and judge this person, that can't wait for this kind of stuff to happen so they can get on a jury. Like, those aren't, and I guess what I'm saying is people with no legal background. You know what I mean? Because to me, that's what trials come down to. Who has the better lawyer? And if you got the better lawyer, your lawyer picks the best. He's going to choose the best jury for you, a more favorable jury to you. It comes down to jury selection. How good your lawyer is at reading people. And that's why Casey Anthony goes home. That's why guys like Robert Dirks goes home. If they knew he cut up his friend, I guess you can call him. I wouldn't call him a friend. You cut me up after you killed me. But they let this man go home. He went home on some old dumb self-defense. Because some redneck was like, well, he could be possibly just the most unlucky man in the world. All right, Jethro. See you back at the ranch, man. Damn. Yeah, no one can trust that. But I digress. I don't want to get back on this Freddie Gray, thing again. Me and one of my buddies are going to talk about this because I have questions, and he's someone that I trust. I trust his perspective on things like this when I don't have much. When I can't understand what's going on either side of the issue. I don't understand why it's going on. Because here's the other thing that happened today. This is what I really wanted to start with. If you guys remember, a couple months ago, around NFC Championship time in January, right? Richard Sherman makes a great play against Michael Crabtree in the corner of the end zone, tips the ball back in bounds. Malcolm Smith, the linebacker, or not this February. Wow, that was 2 years ago. That's the game they won. Wow, yeah, 2 Super Bowls ago, not 2 years, but 2 Super Bowls ago, this happened. And then in the post game, Aaron Andrews, the Fox on-field sideline reporter, finds him, and he just goes off. He's hyped. They're going to the Super Bowl. They're going off, and he just let it rip. Told her how sorry Michael Crabtree was. He better not try me. I'm the best corner in the league, and that's what happens when you try the best corner in the league and all this kind of stuff. And from that, the media, some people in the media, characterized my man as a thug. I'm always talking about, for those of you who've never heard the show, by the way, this is the Sports Kings podcast. I'm Big Mike. I'm usually here with my partner, Rob Calloway, who's in Vegas right now. If you've never heard the show, the first episode that we've done this, and I do it periodically as well when these type of stories come up. I look at the landscape for what it is. In the media is full of people, full of authors. Let's call them authors. Whether you're speaking like I'm speaking, or you're a writer, like people write columns or books or whatever. It's full of the sports media is full of authors who don't resemble the characters that are in their pieces. And from that perspective at times gets lost. You don't hear me saying that the white media is racist and all. I'm sure there's some racist people in the white media, but I don't know who they are. But there's perspective. Your perspective is based on who you are. You know what I mean? If I share an experience with you, I can have some perspective. Like for instance, Adrian Peterson, right? He gave his son an ass whooping. May have been excessive, but if you're me, and I'm only going to speak for me, because I have my opinions on other people who do this job that look like me, but I'll speak for me. If you have knowledge of getting an ass whipping with a switch, and what you end up looking like after you do get one. My mom didn't do the switch thing; she did the belt thing. But I know a dude that got beat across the street from me with a fan belt from a car. Straight up. He got called inside from we was in their backyard playing basketball. He did something. His mom was irate. Called him in the house, and we could hear her wearing him out. Later on, his uncle, no, his nephew, who was older than him, this type of neighborhood I'm talking about, his nephew, who was like 3 years older than him, told us later on what all the hollering was about. We knew he was getting his ass whipped, but it was with a fan belt out of a car. And the funny part of the story is he walked back outside, eyes bloodshot red. Came back outside like nothing had happened. Like we didn't hear all that going on in the house. And like look at that, like years later, like what now, over 20 years later, we're able to laugh. Well, I'm able to laugh at it. We laughed at it then, though, because kids are kids and we're mean and stupid. But we laughed at it then. So my point is, I can have a perspective. I can share a different perspective than, I don't know, some white guy from the suburbs that got put in timeout. You know what I mean? And is appalled by what he saw on that little boy's legs. You know, and we could have a conversation about the age of the kid and Adrian Peterson being a professional athlete and being stronger than maybe the average guy and all that kind of, we can have that conversation. But when people act like they don't understand, people who, let's be real, people who look like me that act like they have no knowledge of any of this stuff. Yeah, all right. Like you ain't always been that suit wearing dude. Like some of you dudes are from the same places, country or from the hood, ghetto, you know, dilapidated housing, public housing. You know. You know. So anyway, back to Richard Sherman, you know, and I wanted to make sure I had this conversation because it happened today again, and it's going to continue to happen. And I don't particularly agree with it. First of all, let me let you hear what Richard Sherman had to say, and then I'll address the soundbite.
It bothers me because it seems like it's the accepted way of calling somebody the N-word nowadays. You know, it's like everybody else said the N-word, and then they say thug, and they're like, oh, that's fine. And that's where it's kind of, you know, it kind of takes me aback, and it's kind of disappointing because they know what's the definition of a thug, really.
And that's a good question. What is the definition of a thug? What is the definition of a thug? Just in layman's, a criminal. You know, back in the day, Italian mobsters were labeled as thugs and hoodlums, both words being synonymous for one another. Or not even just Italian mobsters in general were labeled as thugs and hoodlums. But here's where I think the argument falls apart a little bit for me. When you compare thug to the N-word, and a lot of people want to talk about how, you know, they always fighting in hockey, which hockey's not a sport that I'm into at all, really. I don't even really pay attention to what's going on. I just happen to know they're in the playoffs now. I don't know what teams. I know the Blackhawks are in because my guys in Chicago, and sometimes I listen to them on the radio and they start talking that hockey stuff, and it sounds like somebody's talking Latin to me, and I don't know what the hell they're talking about. But people talk about the fighting that goes on in hockey. But those guys get called goons. Is that word not synonymous with thug? You know, we listen to rap music. We listen to guys like Plies who say, you know, my goons got goons. We know what he's talking about. He's talking about dudes that put in work. You know what I mean? Like illegal work that'll mess you up if you mess with Plies, you know, because he got goons that got goons. But the word thug, to say that word is the new N-word. First of all, the N-word is the new N-word in my book. Like people who feel like words can't change, like the description of a word can't change. Of course it can. You know what we just saw last Friday? We saw a man at the time. We saw a man named Bruce Jenner tell us that he just telling us now that he's going to be a woman. Now physically, with his pants off, he'll be a man still. But in our society now, things have changed, where the definition of woman is a little bit, and man. Before I said the definition of woman and man has become a little bit laxed. It's not as simple as you were born with a penis, or you were born with a vagina, so that means you're a man, you're a woman. Nah, not anymore. So that word has taken on a different assumption when you say that. And it will continue to. So the N word, I use it frequently. We've had this conversation on this show when Rob was here. I mean, Rob's not gone. He's in Vegas just chilling, having a weekend with the boys for fight weekend. But what am I about to say? Oh yeah, so we've had that conversation of how loosely and laxly I use that word. I use it to anything, anybody, any color. That has no racial connotation to me. And all this whole thing about, that word, it means ignorant for real. I don't even know that's true. I don't think that's in Webster. I mean, I guess I could look it up right quick, but like when you look up that word, other things start popping up, and I'm not really, not really there right now with that. So that would be my first. That would be my first, probably. My first gripe with that comment, that thug is the new N-word, or it's a code for N-word now in 2015, since people can't say N-word. You know what they can say? They can say N-word if they wanted to. Be honest with you. And I've said it to people a lot of times, like, I want to give white people the permission to say N-word. Not the N-word, but just say the term N-word, since that seems to be very, very, very acceptable. You hear it on TV all the time. He wrote him a nasty email containing the N-word. So then if a white boy walked up to you and said, "Hey, N-word, why you standing by my car?" and he doesn't say the actual word, you gonna still be as mad. So now, again, is it really the word then? Is it the word that you're mad at? Or because you feel like you know what somebody means when they're saying it? And if that's the case, if some white dude is singing a Jay-Z song and he's singing it verbatim, word for word, don't get mad if he repeats the word, because I think I've established the fact that the word is not the problem. It's the attitude behind it, which still to me is stupid. I'm an adult. Unless you're gonna put me in the hot tub time machine and we're gonna go back to the 60s and you're gonna be able to get fire hoses and water and billet clubs and water hoses on me and put ropes around my neck and hang me from trees while you calling me that word, makes no difference to me. Because one thing I'm not gonna do, I'm not gonna physically assault you because you said a word. Because guess who's going to jail and who's not? Yeah, I am. I got stuff to lose. I don't have time to play with people. If you don't like me because of my race, this is America. You can have that right. You just can't do bad things to people. If you don't like gay people, fine. That's your right in America. Now you'll get shunned for it. You'll get shunned for not liking black people, or people shun you for not liking gay people, because everyone seems to think we live in a kumbaya society. We don't. People don't like each other. I don't like stupid people. I hate stupid people. If you're stupid, you're like a disease to me. I want to get away from you as soon as possible. I want to find somebody to put a tranquilizer in this outbreak monkey, because he or she is trying to spread stupidity. And I'm out. Yeah, there's no way that I can even deal with it half the time. So yeah, there's people to hate. I hate people. I hate people who mess with kids. That's what I'm always telling people. There are plenty of people to hate. Like, you want to use your hate up against somebody who loves another person or somebody that's a different color. Again, this is America. This is America. Fine. By all means, knock yourself out. I ain't here to tell nobody who to hate and who not to hate. But you can't treat them like a second-class citizen because you don't like them. Because you have an ignorant state of mind towards that person. You can't treat them ignorantly. Or you can't be ignorant towards... You can't treat them badly is what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry. So anyway, back to the show I was talking about. The Nightly Show with Larry Wilmore. He is a funny individual. And I think it's funny because he curses too on the show. So it makes it more awesome to me because I have a very, very potty-like mouth. And it's still a shocker to me when I hear that on like regular cable TV. It's not like HBO or Showtime or anything like that. It's on Comedy Central. Charlemagne made something. He made a couple of statements or a couple of things that he said. And the funny thing was I heard him say it twice. I actually heard him in the car on the radio this morning because I had to be out doing some things. And then I heard him on the television saying the same thing. The show actually aired last night, and the morning show that he's on is obviously live in the morning. But here's what he said. He said it's not fair to call the rioters, or as he calls them, quote unquote, non-peaceful protesters